Yes. Good morning, all.
Good morning,
Good
sir.
morning.
Good morning, sir.
Right. So far we have been doing this drip drop, 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 drop. So far, or if you have something to ask, you want something to be clarified, you may proceed. Yes. Should I proceed further or what? Please just give me a hint. Ah,
Yes, sir, you can proceed
Yes.
forward.
okay. Thank you so much then. But there is no water. But there is no water. Then the coming passage is a reference to the resurrection and the reincarnation of Christ as he reportedly arose from his grave. And let me tell you one thing. Can you tell me when this festival of Easter occurs? In which month?
April.
April, right. So April is the cruelest month in that sense as well, isn't it? Yes? Anyway, so this coming passage is a reference to the so called resurrection, so called rebirth of Christ, and the stories around that happening, around that event. And the stories involve several versions. One of the versions talks about how two people really visited the place that is Emmaus, Emmaus. It's the place where Christ was in his rebirth. They literally visited that place to see the rebirth of Christ. The coming passage refers to that. It also refers to certain excursors who were in Arctic Sea and they could feel the presence of somebody do not physical. And somewhere, I tend to read these references as a kind of epiphany, as a kind of moments, you see, when you really witness God, when you feel God. This makes me remember one of the poems of Sri Aurobindo, Revelation. Some of you might have heard about the poem as well, I hope. Revelation. And the poem talks about how Aurobindo is in the Pondicherry walking amongst the rocks and suddenly he feels to have somebody passing by, invisible or seen for a moment. And then when he returned back to see that presence, that was no more. So faith, belief, I'm talking them in terms of epiphany of Wordsworth, of James Joyce, of movements of American Ralph Waldo Emerson. And I think we have strong overtones of that here in this passage. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
The poet
Yes, sir.
says, yes, thank you. The poet says, who is the third? Two men, two human beings visiting Emmaus to find the truth of Christ. They feel the presence of somebody, the third one. And then the sentence begins, who is the third one? Who is the third? Who walks always beside you. It may be second because it always puts God into centrality. And if you don't have faith in God, you can never feel His presence either in your isolation or in any temple or any Durga Puja Pandal or Saraswati Devi DJ Dig Dog. You cannot feel Him. It's all about belief. It's not with the third one, it can be the second one. I am talking to you. So if I am that much of faithful to the belief as far as God is concerned, so I can say, look, God is here around me. Or God is here in front of me. At least we have goddesses here. So it's all about belief system, which is no more in the wasteland. Because already we have seen he who was living is now dead. We who are living are now dying with a little patience. So he says, who is the third who walks always beside you, beside me? I need not to relate it to the Hindu belief system whereby we have been told that look, God is everywhere. Talk about Atma, Paramatma, Brahma, right now? So God is here. It's all about your belief. And 20th century Westland is the crisis as far as belief is concerned. Things fall apart, the center can't hold. Anarchy is loosed upon the world, and everywhere a blood dim tide is loosed. The ceremony of innocence is drowned. The best lack all convictions, and the worsts are full of passionate intensity. So he says, when I could count, when I count, there are only you and I together. physically. And then, but when I look ahead up the white road, there is always another one walking beside you. I think you're getting the idea of the poet. Belief, faith. And then he says, and then he says, gliding wrapped in a brown mantle, hooded. I do not know whether a man or a woman. I do not know whether man or a woman. Thank you, Eliot, for making God a genderless identity. So, I do not know whether a man or a woman, but who is that one? But who is that on the other side of you? At least this much of faith and belief is there. And this is related to the stories of miracle happening in terms of Christ's crucifixion and his resurrection. Arctic Sea, Aravindo, even you, my dear. And when Wordsworth could see divinity in nature, how would he prove it? How would he justify himself? Look, I have seen nature in God, or God in nature. That epiphany, that moment of realization, of awareness, of the true conscience. But this is not possible. This is only a story now in the wasteland. Because in the wasteland, God is dead. Do you know the story about Christ visiting earth disguised as a beggar? And he goes to a church on a Sunday gathering. He enters and he declares himself to be the Christ. Look, I am Christ. The priest looked at him and started ailing. You, the beggar, you, the brat, you, the wanderer, you, this, you, that. How dare you enter into the church premises and how dare you call yourself Jesus Christ? Guards, throw him out. And the man is thrown. Christ is thrown out of that church. Late in the night, Christ is under the tree, must be thinking about his past life and what did he do and what did he become and what has happened to his teachings. And then the priest arrives and falls on his feet. And then Christ asks him, "What are you doing?" The priest says, "Look, I know you are Jesus Christ. But if you are planning and if you are declaring yourself to be Christ in this time, what will happen to us? हमारा क्या होगा? जो हम लोगों ने चर्च बनाया है और जो हम धंधा करते हैं धर्म का, पैसा कमाते हैं, हमारे पास पावर है, प्रिविलेजेस हैं, इसका क्या होगा? इसका क्या होगा? आपकी आवश्यकता नहीं है। आप जाइए और I ask your forgiveness. I am apologetic to my behavior, but you are no more required in person in this world. It's a story. It's a story, yes. But the same story in a different form you can find in one of the classics of Russian Dostoevsky's Brothers Karamazov. Brother Karamazov. Anyway, I hope you got the idea.
Yes, sir.
Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now the poet has come back to the 20th century wasteland. In fact, he has never been out of this place, but he is now here physically. And he is looking at the aftermath of the First World War as you might well remember the scene of Mahabharata and its war of Kurukshetra, and then the last analysis क्या खोया क्या पाया. Anyway, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
The poet says in the stanza which talks about the First World War, and he says, "What is that sound high in the air? Sound, sound of lamentation, sound of sighs, sound of cryings, shriekings, sound of megalomaniacness, lamentations, anguish, pain. What is that sound high in the air? Murmur of maternal lamentation. Murmur of what? Maternal lamentation swarming. Hooded hordes should be taken analogous to the white bodies, dead white bodies, innumerable thousands of dead bodies, innumerable of Christs, because Christ is the symbol of every man. Adam, each one of us is a Christ. Who are those hooded hordes swarming like flies? Flies swarm, isn't it? Just remember the Lord of the Flies, the novel by William Goulding. The slogan of the boys: cut the throat, kill the pig, spill the blood. Remember that? Tell me.
Yes, sir.
So, who are those hooded hordes swarming over endless plains, stumbling in cracked earth wasteland? Stumbling in cracked earth wasteland, ringed by the flat horizon only. It's all dead body, maternal lamentation. What is the city over the mountains? It's all the cities, the whole of Europe, maybe. It is totally indecisive to name a city which is not in the grip of the war. Winston Churchill, famous statement: the war to end all wars. In the context of Second World War, do, but we can refer it here as well. So, what is the city over the mountains? What is the city? I mean, who is not the victim? Almost every city in that way. This is the meaning. Cracks and reforms and bursts in the violet air. And then comes the image: falling towers, Jerusalem, Athens, Alexandria, Vienna, London, Paris, Munich, St. Petersburg, Moscow. Unreal. Falling towers, the symbol of destruction, the symbol of futility and anarchy, that is brought down by First World War. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Then, at this juncture, we need to refer to a very famous German writer, Hermann Hesse, who is very famous for his novel on Siddharth, Mahatma Buddha. That is Siddharth, right? You remember that? You know that? Hermann Hesse. One of his writings is titled into English A Glimpse into Chaos. A glimpse into chaos. And this chaos is the chaos of the First World War. Let us see how does Eliot do this. The next passage. A woman drew her long black hair out tight. A woman. I'm not taking this woman as a physical civilization, nature, hope, positivity, optimism, fertility, creative force. A woman drew her long black hair out tight. Apparently, the process of drawing long black hair out tight वो एक बड़ा फेमस हिंदी गाना है न झटको तुम जुल्फ से पानी सुना है आपने गाना नहीं सुना है सुना नहीं सुना है यार बोलते भी नहीं तुम लोग क्या
No, sir.
रिस्पॉन्स किया करो
नहीं sir.
न झटको तुम जुल्फ नहीं सुना जाकर सुनिएगा अरे लिटरेचर का क्लास है वेस्टलैंड ही पढ़ते रहेंगे तो क्या होगा हम लोगों का हाँ जाइए गाना सुनिएगा मोहम्मद रफ़ी की आवाज़ में गाना है ना झटको मुझे तो गाना आता नहीं बट मुझे अच्छी तरह से याद है ना झटको तुम जुल्फ से पानी फिर आगे आप सुन लीजिएगा बट हियर द जुल्फ एंड द झटका is not the same anyway a woman who is apparently mad already we have seen maternal lamentations isn't it let us try to connect this with that the loose hair and then crying wailing over the dead bodies of the sun mother earth symbolically is too crying over the chaos. A woman drew her long black hair. And hair is a symbol of fertility. And already I have been trying to talk about woman as fertility, creation. So it's all in vain. It's all gone into the winds. Nothing is going to happen now. It's all wasteland. It's all futile. It's all barren. So a woman drew her long black hair out tight, and Fiddled whisper music on those strings. Fiddled music whisper. Very painful imagery. Whispering music. Shrieking, sighing. And this has strong resemblance to surrealist kind of writing. And fiddled whisper music on those strings, and bats with baby faces in the violet light. Bats with baby faces. Strong surrealist account. Bats, ill omen, inauspicious, posing to be innocent, posing to be honest. Surrealist painting. And bats with baby faces in the violet light, whistled and beat their wings fruitlessly and crawled head downward down a blackened wall. Bleakness. Just try to imagine the picture, the painting, which Eliot must have seen somewhere, and try to look at it symbolically, referring to the glimpse of the chaos as far as First World War is concerned. And crawled head downward down a blackened wall, and upside down in air were towers, falling towers, mighty empires falling, mighty civilizations crumbling into dust and pieces, London bridges falling down, towers, tolling reminiscent bells that kept the hours. So we have first Herman Hesse's A Glimpse into Chaos. Second, painting of the school called Hieronymus. Hieronymus, Hieronymus, 16th century Dutch painting school, which painted grotesque in a scene of horror and horror. And this last line, tolling reminiscent bells, tolling In the war, there's a kind of hooter. You know that? Hooter. If you remember Mahabharat, there is a hooter to begin the war and a hooter to end the war of the day. Likewise, must have been the case in the First World War, to commence a war a day and to end the war a day, and the next day, then again the war resumes itself. It has been compared. Tolling reminiscent bells, talking about the bells of Chapel Perilous of Miss Jessie Weston from Ritual to Romance, and the ringing of the bell in that church as a kind of declaration of the night success, KNIGST, night success, to pass the trials and tribulations, the tests, and to have his right over the Holy Grail and the water kept in that, to apply that on Kingfisher, to eradicate, to remove the wasteland. Now it's comparing the bell with the bell. Tolling bell of the First World War, the curfew toll, then of the parting day. Again, I had referred to Thomas Gray Selhurst's Country Churchyard. And then he says, tolling reminiscent bells that kept the hours. And voices singing out of empty cisterns and exhausted wells. It has another important explanation. The World War is taking place. Thousands of people are killed every day. And still, the church, its practices, its rituals are going on. आप सुबह उठते हैं, चर्च जाते हैं, वार जाते हैं, 10, 20, 50 को मारते हैं, फिर शाम को चर्च जाते हैं और प्रार्थना करते होंगे, हे ईश्वर मुझे शक्ति दो, मैं कल 100 को मारूं। आप किससे कह रहे हैं? उस आदमी से कह रहे हैं जिसने कभी ऐसा किया ही नहीं। उस व्यक्ति से कह रहे हैं जिसने जिंदगी भर कष्ट सहा और कष्ट सह सह करके प्रेम मोहब्बत की भावना को जिंदा रखने और उसको फैलाने का काम किया। ऐसा है कि नहीं है? है कि नहीं है? युद्ध हो रहा है, क्योस है, लोग मर रहे हैं और चर्च की घंटियां भी बज रही हैं आराम से. Look at the ironical perspective of the poet. And this ironical tone is almost evident when he says, and voices singing out of empty cisterns. Empty means what? खाली. बिल्कुल. कौन सी बड़ी बात है? Empty cisterns and exhausted wells refer to empty belief, empty faith. Ruskin must have rightly said Christianity has been reduced to churchianity. And if you can remember, if you're reading, you might be reading, maybe I don't know, Philip Larkin's Church Going. You have to do it now? This semester or that semester? I don't know. Which semester?
This
Yes, sir.
This
We have
semester.
semester.
covered it.
This semester.
Have you started doing that? No.
We have finished. We completed that.
Sorry? Done it?
Yes, sir. We have done it.
तुम कुछ बता भी नहीं रहे हो यार. तो मुझे बताओ. Do we have any similarity between the voices singing out of empty cisterns and exhausted wells and church going? Do we have or do we have no? What?
Yes, sir. The church is barren and empty.
Just think about it, and I am giving you one another reference. Reference not of the past, but reference of the future. Eh? And this reference is biblical as well as. Just wait. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
So Jeremiah in the Bible people have committed first they have forsaken me, and second they have broken the holy cistern pot of faith, of belief. They have forsaken me first, and they have broken the holy cistern. And voices singing out of empty cisterns and exhausted wells, the wasteland. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
One more paragraph that I will come to an end today. The coming paragraph is a reference to the chapel perilous. Girl. Yes, Chapel Perilous. In this decayed hole among the mountains, in this decayed hole among the mountains, in the faint moonlight, the grass is singing. Grass, the traditional symbol of fertility. Hope is coming back. The note of optimism is coming back. The grass is singing. Grass, the symbol of what? Fertility. Over the tumbled grapes, it's literal. You might have seen a graveyard, a dead body buried, and then after some days, grass comes up. Might have seen that. Flowers as well, white flowers. Have you been to a graveyard? Have you been to cemetery? Anybody?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Literal and symbolical both. Over the tumbled grapes about the chapel, around the chapel perilous, Miss Jessie Weston, there is the empty chapel, only the wind's home. It has no windows, and the door swings. Dry bones can harm no one. Dry bones might refer to the ghosts and spirits and the fairies. Dry bones can no one because it's a note of positivity, note of optimism, note of grass and its singing, note of drip drop, 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 note of coming in terms with the wish and its fulfillment. Only a cock stood and the sound cocorico, cocorico. In a flash of lightning, there is a damp gust bringing rain. Bringing rain. What is that rain? Is that literal rain? Is that symbolical rain? What kind of rain Eliot is referring to? How is he connecting the past with the present? And how is he connecting East with the West or West with that of East? We shall see this tomorrow. Okay? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Read it at least once back at home. I'm quite hopeful that you all are keeping abreast with me and you are understanding the poem The Wasteland. Should I be hopeful of that at least? In my case.
Yes, sir.
Okay, then see you then tomorrow. Thank you.
So,
G,
the
yes.
idea of the of the bells, the tolling bells, the idea of the tolling bells. So, can this be referred to the idea in when there's a death or a impending death in the Christian, the church bells are rung, the three church
Yes,
bells?
yes. The death toll. The death toll. So it has many meanings. I mean, just look at the ironical perspective. क्राइस्ट ने कभी नहीं कहा होगा, अरे भाई हम क्राइस्ट की बात क्यों करें, जब अल्फ्रेड नोबल ने बनाया डायनामाइट, he did never think of using that in atom bomb. Huh? Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Did he ever think of that? No. So, bell. The bell has a timing, isn't it? The church Christian bell, not the hero, Christian bell. But as far as the wasteland is concerned, as far as the First World War is concerned, people are dying out of no reason at all. You wake up one morning and a bomb falls on your head and you are nowhere. The uncertainty. Anyway, okay, Akshita,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
see you then tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.